They say any idiot can replace brake pads. Today, we're gonna find out. Right, Travis? That's right. Are you gonna stay and help? Okay, I'm gonna need a 14 millimeter. Go get the 14 millimeter, Travis. He'll come back with a 10. Oh. Now it's just time to put them back together. And this one did not come with new slide hardware. So I just cleaned up the old slide hardware. We're gonna use some brake Siliglide. Make sure when you're putting lube on this upper slide, if you've got a 1-pin, 1-bolt caliper setup like this one is, 1 bolt, 1 pin, don't put a whole bunch of grease down in this hole or on the end of that pin, or what you're gonna do is basically hydraulically lock this caliper. The piston will be pushing in, trying to squeeze this caliper and squeeze your brake pads up against your disc, and there will be a layer of grease here that cannot be compressed because grease can't be compressed. So really you're gonna have a brake that's not working on this side or both sides. Don't do that. You just need a thin layer of grease on the actual slide pin, but not the end of the slide pin. And make sure that this thing is not packed with grease all the way down the bottom. Otherwise your brakes, no matter what, are not gonna work. Also, what you wanna do is when you're taking this stuff apart, maybe get your pads out first and lay them out on the ground or on a piece of cardboard, something like this. And you're just gonna spray the metal backing of the pad down with like Disc Brake Quiet, something like that. Maybe a little grease if you have that. Thin layer of grease would do it. All you're trying to do is collect dust off the initial break-in period of these pads to keep them quiet. Don't put any of that on this, the actual friction surface of the pad. That's a bad idea. You've got to get this piston back up in that caliper. There's lots of different ways to do it. There's lots of tools on the market to do it. My favorite tool for a single piston setup like this, just a big set of slip joint pliers. All you gotta do is sit here and squeeze. And I move around to different sides of it so I don't get the piston in here all cattywampus or whopper jawed, depending on which side you're working on. And if you want to, what you could do is take one of your old pads and put it here so you don't damage the surface of this piston. This isn't a race car. I'm not worried about this already rusted piston surface getting marred up by a set of slip joint pliers. There you go. We're back up in there. It's as easy as that. No special tools required. Multiple pistons, you'll definitely need a pad and maybe a tool, but you can still usually get away with the slip joint pliers and just a pad so you can push both pistons in at once. Single piston, slip joint pliers. In this particular setup, the inner brake pad is the one that has the noise maker for when your brake pads get low. And speaking of low, this is the backing for the pad. This is the pad itself. If your pad is as thin or thinner than your backing plate, you need to put pads on it. If this surface is thicker than this surface, you still got a little ways to go. So it's just a quick little note. Rule of thumb, it's not perfect, but it'll get you there. That being said, noisemaker goes on the inside. Ta-da! These don't really matter, left side, right side on this. So that's good. Some of them do. Some of them will have just the way they're set up. You'll have to hook it in a certain way, and you will have a left and right pad. Not so on this one because this is a cheap Japanese import from the 80s where slapping them together, sending them over, selling them for cheap. Worked pretty good too. Got the sides of this all cleaned up and greased up, nothing on the end. Made sure that there's not a whole bunch of crap in the end of this pivot pin hole or guide hole, and there you go. Slips right back on. All we have left is to put this bolt back in this hole, and this side is done. They don't have to be He-Man tight, but you want them fairly tight, especially if you just got one bolt holding this whole thing together. I'm gonna leave this tire off until I do the other side, just in case I run into a problem on the other side, I can see this side. So I think I jinxed myself on the other side by saying that you don't need a C-clamp or anything like that to go ahead and depress a piston. On this caliper, the dust boot on that piston is damaged a little bit, so I think it got a rust lip on it. Sort of like if you let an engine sit for a long time, you'll get a rust lip or a rust ridge in the cylinder that could maybe keep the engine from rotating that you'll have to break through. Same thing, so C-clamp, old pad, a little bit of time, turn it, let it wait, a little bit of time, turn it, let it wait. Got through it, it's fine now, but yeah, I said you wouldn't need this. and sometimes you do. There you go. Any idiot can do disc brake pads. And by idiot, I mean me. I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So if your front disc brake pads are worn out and you need to replace them or have somebody replace them, you've never done it before, maybe get a neighbor who has, just to watch over you a little bit and give it a shot. I think you'll find you can do it. So, we'll see you next time.